Welcome back. I'm Pratap here. Today is 29th March 2025. In this video, I'm going to generate different supply demand zone reports for the end of the day 28th March 2025. Even before that, all of you please note we are providing complete free training on supply demand zone price action. You might be knowing it is a highly expensive training course, but we are providing complete free training and all the training lessons are already available at our NeoStock YouTube channel. So to access the training lessons at our homepage, click on the tab Posts. Some of you might be seeing the tab Community in place of Posts. In that case, click on the Community tab. Then you get access to this post. This post is having a YouTube playlist link that will take you to all the training lessons. You just click on the link. Now we are into Supply Demand Zone Price Action Course YouTube playlist. So I kept all the training lessons in this playlist. Just scroll down to the bottom of the page. Here, starting from lesson 1.1, all the training lessons are placed in an order. So please go through all these lessons one by one. But according to my training instructions, they are available at our Telegram channel. I provided the link to our Telegram channel in this video description. So please join at our Telegram channel. At the top of the Telegram channel window, you can find pinned messages. And one of the messages in the pinned messages are having all the training instructions. So learn this course according to those training instructions. Then you will become a very good independent trader in the coming months. So please make use of this opportunity. Because I have explained all the supply zone, demand zone concepts that includes all the advanced strategies. Lesson 21 onwards, you will be learning so many advanced new strategies. They might be helping us identifying the right trades. But you should start learning from lesson 1.1. That you should not forget. Okay, now let's get into report generation with the help of NeoStock Software Supply Demand Zone Top-Down Analysis Strategy Builder. Okay, first we will generate finding the stocks near demand and supply zones for different time frames. And also today is the end of the week. We will also generate few additional reports for the weekly time frame. Once we get into the weekly time frame. First let us start with the yearly time frame. First I am finding the stocks where price closed inside the yearly demand zone. We got 3 stocks. I'm giving you only few seconds time to watch the report. So I request you pause the video, study the report, and then you move on to the next reports. Those who don't understand the structure of this report, I request you complete our training lesson 21.1. That is part 1 of lesson 21. In that video, I have explained each and every column, their values, abbreviations in detail. Okay, next report. Price closed inside the yearly supply zone. We don't have any stocks. So next time frame is half yearly. Stocks near half yearly demand zone. We got 1 stock. Next, stocks near half yearly supply zone. No stocks are available. Next, price closed inside the half yearly demand zone. We got 4 stocks. Next, price closed inside the half yearly supply zone. We got 3 stocks. Next time frame is quarterly. Stocks near quarterly demand zone. We got 3 stocks. Next, stocks near quarterly supply zone. We got 6 stocks. That means we got supply demand zones for 6 stocks. Next, price closed inside the quarterly demand zone. We got multiple stocks. First 23 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 32 stocks are filtered. But we can further filter this list based on by setting high probability parameter quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence. So I'm going back. Now I am adding one more extra filter, EMA confluence on the quarterly time frame, and setting quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence filter. And we should not forget, when we set EMA confluence, trend should not be sideways, because sideways trend EMA confluence does not give any advantage. So that is the reason why in the trend parameter at quarterly time frame I'm avoiding sideways trend and remaining up or down. I'm selecting with these filters. Now the list is come down to 17 stocks. These are the price closed inside the quarterly demand zone and also current, the quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence. Okay, next, quarterly time frame. Price closed inside the quarterly supply zone. We got 6 stocks. Out of these 6, how many are having quarterly supply zone confluence? Let us filter. Quarterly EMA confluence. Quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence filter is enabled. At the same time, trend on the quarterly should not be sideways. It can be up or down. So we got 3 stocks. So price closed in the quarterly supply zone, and those quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence. So this is about quarterly time frame, and the next time frame is monthly. Stocks near monthly demand zone. And today is also supposed to be month end. This is the month end candle. Why? Because Monday is a holiday, 31st. See, today 29th weekend, 30 weekend, 31st is a holiday, so there won't be any market. That means, and today itself is the month end. So month end candle is ready. That's why we will also generate few additional monthly reports also. Okay, first monthly time frame. Stocks near monthly demand zone. 4 stocks are filtered. Next, stocks near monthly supply zone. We got 13 stocks. Next, price closed inside the monthly demand zone. First 18 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 29 stocks are filtered. We can further filter this list based on monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence. So I'm going back. In the EMA confluence, at monthly time frame, I'm checking monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence. And also trend on the monthly should not be sideways. So it can be up or down. With these filters, we got 11 stocks. So in these 11 stocks, all the current price closed in the demand zones, and those demand zones are having monthly EMA confluence. Okay, next, monthly time frame. Price closed inside the monthly supply zone. First 15 stocks in the list. Even at present, Nifty is also closed inside the monthly supply zone. Scrolling the list down, total 21 stocks are filtered. Now let's verify out of these 21, how many monthly supply zones are having monthly EMA confluence. So I'm going back. In the EMA confluence at monthly time frame, I'm selecting the filter monthly supply zone having monthly EMA confluence. At the same time, trend on the monthly should not be sideways. So it can be up or down. With these filters, we got 15 stocks. So that means Nifty 50 supply zone is having monthly EMA confluence. And also current price closed inside that monthly supply zone. Okay. And we will also generate few additional monthly reports because it is the monthly time frame. Let us find the stocks that tested the monthly demand zones during this month. So these 9 stocks having monthly demand zones are tested during this month. Okay, next. Let us identify the tested monthly supply zones during this week. The stocks having monthly supply zones. So these 4 stocks having monthly supply zones are tested during this week. During this month, not week, during this month. Because these are the monthly zones. Always look into the time frame. Okay, next, let us identify the newly created monthly demand and supply zones during this month. So now let us identify the stocks having newly created monthly demand zones. So these 14 stocks are having newly created monthly demand zones. See, mostly our software displays a newly created monthly demand zones. See here, all these are all newly created. But when LOTL zones are created, at the time the nearest one software displays. It doesn't mean this is a newly created one. See, look into this demand zone. This is the software always displays the demand zone that is nearest to the current closing price. In LOTL scenarios, inside this zone, there might be a newly created zone might be available. In that case, the first one is the nearest to the current price. Our stock displays the reports. This is how the reports are designed. So that's why I'm saying these stocks are having newly created zones, but not the one I am displaying on the screen. Mostly it displays the stocks, but only in LOTL scenario, the exceptional scenario, the one which is nearest. So that means if the date is not, the leg out date is not current month date, it indicates the newly created zone could be an LOTL zone. That is the way you should understand. Because I designed these reports in such a way, the nearest zone to the current price will be displayed on the screen. That means the stocks are having newly created. Mostly it displays the stocks, new zones only. But only in LOTL scenario, you will see this exception. See, all the candles are having current month candles. But this is the only one having exceptional in this entire report. And even here, first one also. It is displaying 2023. This is the nearest to the current price. That means inside this zone, newly created LOTL zone would have been created. This is how you should understand. Okay, anyway, these are the stocks having newly created monthly demand zones. Similarly, let us look into the newly created monthly supply zones. The stocks having newly created monthly supply zones. So this is the one, the current month leg out. So it's this zone itself is the newly created zone. Okay. Apart from this, we will also generate few monthly demand zones that are having monthly, quarterly and yearly zone Confluence supported stocks for both demand zones and supply zones. So entry time frame I am selecting monthly. And now let us check how many monthly demand zones are having zone Confluence supported stocks. So I am going to the demand zone Confluence. In the demand zone Confluence, 3 filters I have to select. First filter, monthly and quarterly demand zone Confluence supported stocks. This is the one. I enable the filter. Next, monthly and yearly demand zone Confluence supported stocks. Enable the filter. And also quarterly and yearly demand zone Confluence supported stocks. With all the 3 filters, we got 14 stocks. What does it mean? It means monthly zone is overlapped with quarterly zone. Both together overlapped with yearly zone. That means the software is assuming monthly could be LTF, quarterly could be ITF, yearly could be HTF. All the 3 zone Confluence supported stocks it displayed. Even if you want to further filter this list, because monthly and quarterly together overlapped with yearly. So if yearly EMA Confluence supported stocks, let us verify. Yearly EMA, that those stocks could be having even much stronger order flow. So in the yearly time frame, I am selecting yearly demand zone having yearly Confluence. At the same time, the trend on the yearly should not be sideways, because sideways trend EMA Confluence doesn't make any sense. So that's why avoiding sideways trend, selecting only up or down. So with these filters, let us check how many stocks will further filter. So we got 9 stocks. See, in these 9 stocks, HTF means yearly. So no stock is having sideways trend. That is the way we filtered the stocks. So these monthly demand zones might be having more high probability to get success. So this is how we can identify the zones. And these monthly zones, maybe you can use it for long-term investment point of view, or further you can analyze the monthly zones, keeping them as a HTF zones. You can identify your MIT trades, monthly income trades. These are the different ways you can plan your trade setups, or use this monthly as your ITF and weekly as a LTF. That way you can plan a weekly income trades. See, there is no limit for our imaginations, or there is no limit for building our strategies. But effectiveness is important. So this is how you can use these zones. How you are using it is up to you. You are based on your experience, based on your understanding, and based on your kind of income trades so you are looking for. This is the way you can plan. But software is having such a great flexibility to provide these reports. Okay, similarly, we can also look into the supply zones. So monthly time frame, I'm generating supply zone confluence for monthly, quarterly and yearly time frames. Okay, first filter monthly and quarterly supply zone confluence I enabled. Next filter monthly and yearly supply zone confluence filter enabled. Next quarterly and yearly supply zone confluence filter enabled. With all the three filters, monthly supply zone should overlap with quarterly. Both together will overlap with yearly supply zones. Any such kind of stocks, let us filter. No stocks are available in this combination. See the search strategy, you will understand the kind of combination. Say entry time frame is monthly, and in the supply zone confluence we selected yearly, quarterly, yearly monthly and quarterly monthly. So no stocks are available. Okay, this is about monthly time frame. And the next time frame is weekly. And also today is also supposed to be the weekend. So we will also generate few additional weekly reports similar to the way how we generated for monthly. Because this is the monthly month-end report, month-end candle, and also it is the weekend candle. We have both. The same day is supposed to be month-end and weekend. So month-end we already generated additional reports. Now we will generate for weekly. So weekly time frame, stocks near weekly demand zone. Excuse me. First 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 22 stocks are filtered. Okay, next. Stocks near to the weekly supply zone. We got 14 stocks. Next, price closed inside the weekly demand zone. We got 17 stocks. First 16 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 17 stocks are filtered. Out of these 17, we can further filter based on weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence. So I'm going back and adding the EMA confluence filter at weekly time frame by selecting the option weekly demand zone having weekly EMA confluence. At the same time, the trend on the weekly should not be sideways. So I'm selecting up or down. So with these filters, we got only 3 stocks. Out of 3, 2 of the weekly zones are pierced zones. You can apply pierced zone strategies. You land in lesson 28. Okay, these are the price closed inside the weekly demand zone, and these weekly demand zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Okay, next we will look into weekly time frame, price closed inside the weekly supply zone. We got several stocks. So first 16 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 48 stocks are filtered. Out of these 48, how many are having weekly supply zones, are having weekly EMA confluence? Let us filter. So I'm going back. In the EMA confluence at weekly time frame, I'm setting the filter weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence. At the same time, the trend on the weekly time frame should not be sideways. So I'm adding the filter up or down. So with these filters, now the list is reduced. So first 16 stocks in the list. See, both Nifty and Bank Nifty supply zones are having weekly EMA confluence. But both the supply zones are piercer zones. Any piercer zone strategies you can apply if they are applicable. Okay, I'm scrolling the list down. So total 26 stocks are filtered. In all these 26 stocks, price closed inside the weekly supply zone, and those weekly supply zones are having weekly EMA confluence. Okay, this is about weekly time frame. But this is the end of the week. We will also generate few additional weekly reports. So weekly time frame, let us find the tested weekly demand zones. The stocks having tested weekly demand zones. We got 3 stocks. So these 3 stocks having the demand zones are tested during this week. Next, stocks having the supply zones tested during this week. So many, not so many, several weekly supply zones are tested during this week. So all these stocks having supply zones tested during this week. So first 15 stocks in the list. I'm scrolling the list down. So total 34 stocks. That means these 34 stocks having the supply zones, weekly supply zones, are tested during this week. Okay. So this is about tested zones. Next, newly created weekly demand and supply zones. Let us find. Going back for weekly time frame, let us find the stocks having newly created weekly demand zones. See, these 3 stocks are having newly created weekly demand zones. All the 3 weekly demand zones are created during this week. Similarly, let us identify newly created weekly supply zones. Stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. I'm going back. For weekly time frame, I'm selecting the filter, the supply zones, the stocks having newly created weekly supply zones. With this filter, we got 2 stocks. These 2 stocks are having newly created weekly supply zones. See, this supply zone is created during this week. But look into this timestamp. Okay, this is the latest timestamp, right? Sorry, I made a mistake. These are the leg out candle you have to say. So these are the timestamps of the current week opening candle open date. Always candle open dates will be displayed. Okay, so these two supply zones are created during this week. So this is about newly created zones, and also we will generate two more additional reports having zone confluence, weekly, monthly and quarterly demand zone confluence and supply zone confluence reports. First, demand zone confluence, selecting weekly time frame. It is like assuming weekly income trade supported with high probability setup based on zone confluence. Those who are looking for WIT trades, maybe these reports, you can select the best stocks from these reports. Okay, in the demand zone confluence, three filters we have to set. First one is weekly and monthly demand zone confluence. Weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. Enable the filter. Next, weekly demand zone with quarterly demand zone confluence filter enabled. Next, monthly demand zone with quarterly demand zone confluence filter also we enabled with all the three filters. That means weekly zone should be overlapped with monthly zone. Again, both the zones together should overlap with quarterly demand zone. So such kind of stocks. So we got 34 stocks. Even NIFTY, BANKNIFTY demand zones are also overlapped with quarterly and overlapped with monthly. All these are all weekly demand zones. Okay, first 15 stocks in the list. I am scrolling the list down. So total 34 stocks are filtered. Out of these 34, we can further filter based on, because the weekly zone is overlapped with monthly, both together overlapped with quarterly. That means all zones are part of quarterly zone. So that's why we will check quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence. That way more high probability. Weekly zones you can identify. Okay, I'm going back in the EMA confluence. At quarterly time frame, I am selecting the filter quarterly demand zone having quarterly EMA confluence. At the same time, EMA confluence should not be having sideways. Quarterly trend should not be sideways, because sideways trend EMA confluence does not make any sense at all. That is what you learned in your EMA training lesson. EMA confluence training lesson, I explained that point. So that's why sideways we always ignore. We don't want those stocks, because we are looking for more high probability trade setup supported stocks. So that's why in the quarterly time frame, ignoring sideways, remaining trends I am selecting up or down. So with these filters, now the list is come down to 21 stocks. So first 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down, so total 21 stocks are filtered. So from this list you can select your best stocks based on your strategies. Okay, this is a demand zone confluence and EMA confluence together. Next we will look into supply zone confluence supported stocks for weekly time frame. So I am selecting entry time frame weekly, and in the supply zone confluence, three filters we have to select. First filter is weekly with monthly supply zone confluence. Next, weekly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence. Next, monthly supply zone with quarterly supply zone confluence with all the three filters. That means weekly supply zone should overlap with monthly supply zone. Both together again overlap with quarterly and quarterly supply zone. So with these filters, we got 10 stocks. In these 10 stocks, these weekly supply zones are overlapped with monthly supply zone, both together again overlapped with quarterly supply zone. Okay. If you want, we can further filter this list based on quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence supported stocks. At the same time, trend should not be sideways. So let's go back in the EMA confluence at quarterly time frame. I'm selecting the filter quarterly supply zone having quarterly EMA confluence. And also the trend on the quarterly should not be sideways, so that the remaining trends up or down. With these filters, we got two stocks. So these two quarterly supply zones are having quarterly EMA confluence, and our weekly zone is inside the quarterly. That means overlapped with the quarterly. So this is how we can filter the stocks. But out of these two, the second one is a pierced weekly supply zone. Maybe you can apply pierced zone strategies on this zone. Okay, anyway, we have completed the weekly. So both weekly and monthly we generated special reports because it is the weekend and also month end. Now let's go to the next time frame, daily. Entry time frame daily, let us find the stocks near to the daily demand zone. We got 15 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity demand zones from this list. First one is NIFTY Media is a high liquidity, but unfortunately it is not listed in F&O. We are ignoring. Okay, here IRFC is having a daily high liquidity demand zone. Next we got Power Grid is having a daily high liquidity demand zone. Next, RBL Bank is having a daily high liquidity demand zone. That's it. Excuse me. So we have identified 3 daily high liquidity demand zones from this list for our HLQ zone strategy. Okay. Next, for daily time frame, let us find the stocks near to the daily supply zone. We got 7 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity daily supply zones from this list. Crompton is having a daily high liquidity supply zone. Naukri is having a daily high liquidity supply zone. Next, Nika is having a daily high liquidity supply zone. Next, PEL is having a daily high liquidity supply zone. PEL is also having a demand zone. So sometimes you may get trade opportunities on either side. Total how many we identified? 4, right? First, second, third, fourth. Yeah. Next, fifth one. Supreme Industries are also having a daily high liquidity supply zone. So total 5 high liquidity supply zones we identified out of 7 stocks. Okay. These are the high liquidity zones, 5 high liquidity zones you can use for your HLQ zone strategy. Okay, next, daily time frame, price closed inside the daily supply zone. We got a big list. First 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 37 stocks are filtered. Out of these 37, how many daily supply zones are how many daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence? Let us verify. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, selecting daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence or not. At the same time, trend on the daily should not be sideways. It should be up or down. So with these filters, now the list is come down to 18 stocks. So first 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So to total 18 stocks are filtered. Price closed inside the daily demand zone, and those daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence. Okay, this is about daily demand zone EMA confluence, price closed inside daily demand zone. Next, for daily time frame, price closed inside the daily supply zone. Again, we got a big list. So first 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. So total 59 stocks are filtered. Out of these 59, how many are having daily supply zones with daily EMA confluence? Let us further filter this list. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, I am selecting the filter daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence. At the same time, the trend on the daily time frame should not be sideways. It can be remaining trends up or down. With these filters, now the list is come down to 7 stocks from 59. And these 7 daily supply zones are having daily EMA confluence. And some of these zones are pierced zones. Majority of the zones. The supply zones. Okay. So these daily supply zones are having daily EMA confluence, and also current price closed inside the daily supply zones. So with this we have completed the daily reports. Next we will look into the next time frame 125 minutes. Stocks near 125 minutes demand zone. First 15 stocks in the list. Scrolling the list down. Total 19 stocks are filtered. Stocks near to 125 minutes demand zone. Okay, next. Stocks near to the 125 minute supply zone. We got 13 stocks. Okay, next time frame is 75 minutes. Entry time frame 75 minutes. Let us find the stocks near to the 75 minutes demand zone. We got 25 stocks. First 15 stocks. Scrolling the list down. Total 25 stocks are filtered. But we will identify the 75 minutes high liquidity zones from this list. First one is oil and gas NIFTY, not listed in F&O, so we are ignoring this zone. Next, Angel one is having a high liquidity daily demand zone. It is also having high liquidity supply zone, but they are very far away. So getting trade opportunity. Actually, when demand and supply zones are there, either side we get opportunity. But getting opportunity is intraday opportunity is supply zone is not possible practically, because it is very having huge distance. So let's focus only on the demand zone. So first one is Angel 1. The next one is a DMART. DMART is having 75 minutes high liquidity demand zone. SRF is having a high liquidity 75 minutes demand zone. Tata Communication is having a 75 minutes high liquidity demand zone. That's it. We got 4 75 minutes high liquidity zones. See, the list is very big. We got 25 stocks. But we got only 4 high liquidity 75 minutes demand zones from this list. Out of these 4, again we should identify how many are having fine-tuned 5-minute zones. Otherwise, zones might be violated. Okay. The next report, 75 minutes time frame. Let us find the stocks near to the 75 minute supply zone. We got 11 stocks. Let us identify high liquidity 75 minute supply zones from this list. Cummins is having a high liquidity 75 minute supply zone. Patanjali is having high liquidity 75 minute supply zone. That's it. We have identified only 2 75 minutes high liquidity supply zones from this list for your HLQ zone strategy. Okay, with this we have completed daily and 75 minutes high liquidity zone identification. So the next time frame is 25 minutes. Stocks near 25 minutes demand zone. We got 15 stocks. Next, stocks near 25 minutes supply zone. We got 6 stocks. So the next time frame is 15 minutes. Stocks near 15 minutes demand zone. We got 12 stocks. We can further filter this list based on the zone confluence. That is 15 minutes and 75 minutes demand zone confluence. I am enabling that filter. Now the list is come down to 7 stocks. In this 7, the 5th one and the 2nd one are peers demand zones. You can ignore. Or if you feel any peers zone strategies, you can apply. Okay, next 15 minutes time frame. Stocks near 15 minutes supply zone. We got 14 stocks. Let us further filter this list based on 15 minute supply zone having 75 minute supply zone confluence. That is ITF supply zone confluence. So I am enabling the filter 15 minute supply zone with 75 minutes supply zone. We got 5 stocks. Out of these 5, 4th one is a pierced supply zone. Okay, next time frame is 5 minutes. Stocks near 5 minutes demand zone. We got 11 stocks. Let us further filter this list based on ITF demand zone confluence. That is 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. Enable the filter. With this filter, the list is come down to 11. The 11th one is a pierced supply zone. And the 4th one is also pierced supply zone. Sorry, demand zones, not supply zones. This is demand zone confluence. So 4th one is a Pierced demand zone. 11th one is a pierced demand zone. You can ignore them. Okay, next 5 minutes time frame. Stocks near 5 minutes supply zone. We got 11 stocks. Out of these 11, how many supply zones are having ITF supply zone Confluence? Let's filter. That is 5 minute supply zone with 15 minute supply zone Confluence. With this filter, the list is come down to 5 stocks. Out of these 5, fifth one is a pierced supply zone. Third one is a pierced supply zones. Okay, this is about stocks near demand and supply zone reports. Next, we will generate NIFTY and BANKNIFTY supply demand zone chain. NIFTY, starting with monthly demand, monthly time frame. I am generating monthly supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. So this is NIFTY monthly supply demand zone chain. Always look into the zone column to find the high liquidity zones. Look into the pierced column to find the pierced zones. And also look into the LTF trend to find the trend of the current time frame you have selected. Of course, one more time frame higher is ITF and one more time frame higher is HTF. That way you can identify the other trends also from this report. And apply the same rules for the remaining supply demand zone chain reports. And also don't forget to pause the video for studying these reports, because I am giving you hardly only few seconds time to watch the report. Okay, next, generating weekly supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 125 minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 75 minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 25 minute supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. Twenty-ninth is the nearest demand zone to the current closing price, is a pierced demand zone. So let me put it in the center so that you know equal number of demand and supply zones. Okay, next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for NIFTY. All these are all supply zones. I'm scrolling the list down. 43, you have nearest demand zone to the current closing price, pierced demand zone. So let me just put it in the middle. Okay. So this is about Nifty supply demand zone chain. Next, let us look into Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain reports. Changing the name to Nifty Bank. That is nothing but Bank Nifty. Generating monthly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, weekly supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, daily supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 125-minute supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 75-minute supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 25-minute supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 15 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Next, 5 minutes supply demand zone chain for Bank Nifty. Okay, this is Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain. So with this we have completed both Nifty and Bank Nifty supply demand zone chain reports. Next we will generate bullish and bearish trade setups for monthly, weekly, daily and hourly income trade reports. Okay, bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry time frame is daily. Entry zone is demand zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at entry time frame daily, I am selecting bullish. And the zone achievement should always be violated opposing zone. And minimum odd enhanced score should always be 12. With these filters, I am generating the report. We got 10 stocks. So these 10 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. And the entry time frame zones are daily demand zones. All these are all daily demand zones. Some of these demand zones are pierced demand zones. We didn't filter pierced zones on daily time frame because we can use them for pierced zone strategies. Those who are having interest on pierced zone strategies. Only 10th one is a pierced zone. Okay. Out of these 10, how many are having more high probability to get success? That we can identify based on the zone confluence. That means our daily zone should be part of the weekly zone, or daily and weekly together part of the monthly zone. Those zones are having more strong order flows. So that's why first we will filter based on daily and weekly demand zone confluence. That is LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. So in the demand zone confluence, I am adding one more filter. daily demand zone is having weekly demand zone, enabling the filter. With this filter, we got 9 stocks out of 10. So out of these 9, all these daily demand zones are overlapped with weekly demand zones. And weekly trend is uptrend. Because the daily is part of the weekly zone, and if the weekly zone is having weekly EMA confluence, because the trend is uptrend in all the stocks, if that is the case, the filtered stocks, the daily demand zones might be having even more high probability to get success. Let's verify. So let's add one more filter, that is EMA confluence, because at weekly time frame, because the daily is overlapped with weekly. So if weekly is having weekly EMA confluence, weekly demand zone with weekly EMA, and also weekly trend is already uptrend in all the stocks. So further filtered, we got 4 stocks. So these 4 daily demand zones might be having even more success rate too. Probability. Always remember, the success is based on the probability. It is just a probability game. So these 4 stocks are having more probability or more high probability to get the success. So this is the bullish trade setup based on LTF and ITF demand zone confluence and also ITF EMA confluence. Next we will look into HTF demand zone and HTF EMA confluence supported stocks we have to filter. Second filter. So I'm going back, removing EMA filter because this is ITF specific. Now let's focus on HTF specific. So in the demand zone confluence, HTF specific, you should add 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, daily with weekly demand zone confluence. Next filter is a daily demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. And third filter, weekly demand zone with monthly demand zone confluence. By enabling all the 3 filters, we got 3 stocks. What does it mean? In these 3 stocks, these daily demand zones are overlapped with weekly demand zone. Again, both together overlapped with monthly demand zone. So that means all are part of the monthly zone. And that monthly zone, all stocks are having uptrend. That's a good sign. Why? Because in the uptrend, if monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence, these daily demand zones, because they are residing inside the monthly zone. So that's why these daily demand zones are having even more high probability to get success. So let's verify. In the EMA confluence, at a daily time frame, at monthly time frame, because the daily together with weekly are part of the monthly zone. That's why we are checking monthly demand zone having monthly EMA confluence. Anyway, all the 3 stocks trend is uptrend. So no need to set any trend. By default, they are uptrend. So let's filter. We got all the 3 stocks. All the 3 stocks. See here, EMA confluence and monthly. They have monthly EMA confluence. So that means these 3 daily demand zones are having even more high probability to get success. So this is bullish trade setup for monthly income trade. Now let us look into bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Entry time frame daily, entry zone, supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup, at entry time frame daily, I am selecting bearish because it is bearish trade setup. And also zone achievement should be violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score should be 12. With these filters, we got 5 stocks. These 5 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for monthly income trade, and entry time frame zones are daily supply zones because these are the bearish trade setup stocks. So we should focus only on the supply zones for entry time frame. So within that zone, you will fine tune and you will identify your trades based on supply demand zone concepts and the risk management. Okay, but out of these 5, there could be some high probability trade setup supported zones might be available. We can filter them based on the zone confluence. First filter is the LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. That means these daily supply zones should overlap with weekly supply zones. Such kind of stocks we want. So I'm going back in the supply zone confluence. I want to add a filter, daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. Out of 5, we got all 5 stocks. What does it mean? So these 5 daily supply zones are overlapped with weekly supply zones. They are part of the weekly zones. And a weekly trend, ITF is weekly. Weekly trend is a downtrend in all the stocks. So because the daily supply zone is part of the weekly supply zone, if any weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence because the trend is down, then those daily supply zones might be having even more high probability to get success. Let us filter any such stocks. So in the EMA confluence at weekly time frame, because the daily supply zone is overlapped with weekly supply zone and weekly trend is down, so we are setting weekly supply zone having weekly EMA confluence or not. Because the trend is down in all stocks, I am not setting any filter on the trend. Let's filter directly. Out of 5, we got 4 stocks. So these 4 stocks are having even more high probability to get success based on LTF and ITF supply zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. This is ITF specific filters. Next, we will look into HTF specific filters. LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence, and later we will filter with EMA confluence. HTF EMA. So I am going back, removing this ITF EMA filter, and then in the supply zone confluence, I want to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, daily with weekly. Next, daily supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence, and also weekly supply zone with monthly supply zone confluence filters enabled. That means daily supply zone should be overlapped with weekly and both together should overlap with monthly. That is what the meaning. Let's filter. We got only 2 stocks. In these 2 stocks, these 2 daily supply zones are overlapped with weekly. Both together again overlapped with monthly supply zone. So all are part of monthly, but monthly trend is sideways. Sideways trend you can't filter based on the EMA confluence at monthly supply zones. So no further filtering. That means no more high probability supported zones than this current filter. So this is a bearish trade setup for monthly income trade. Okay, with this we have completed a monthly income trade reports. Next we will look into weekly income trade. So weekly income trade bullish trade setup, entry time frame is 75 minutes, entry zone is demand zones, and also bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes time frame. I am selecting bullish, and next zone achievement should always be violated opposing zone, and minimum odd enhancer score should always be 12. And we will add one more filter, that is 75 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So I am going down in the pierced count at 75 minutes time frame. I am setting the filter minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count on the 75 minutes demand zone, pierced count should be 0. That means zone should not be pierced, which is on the 75 minutes demand zone. How can we say 75 minutes demand zone? Because here we selected 75 minutes demand zone, entry time frame, entry zone. All filters will be applied on this 75 minutes demand zone. We set 3 filters. One is pierced count applied on this. Second one, zone achievement, that will be applied on this. Third one, minimum odd enhancer score, that will be applied on this. This is how our software works. Okay, let's filter. We got 15 stocks. And all these 15 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. And entry time frame zones are 75 minutes demand zones. All these are all 75 minutes demand zones. Okay, out of these 15 75 minutes demand zones, there could be some high probability setup supported zones might be available. So we can further filter the list. So that we will identify based on this zone confluence, after that EMA confluence. So 2 filters we use. First one is LTF and ITF demand zone confluence. That is 75 minutes is LTF and daily is ITF. That means 75 minutes demand zone should overlap with the daily demand zone. Then the 75 minutes demand zone order flow might be stronger. So that way we are identifying high probability trade setup supported stocks. So let's go back. In the demand zone confluence, I am enabling the filter 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence. So with this filter, out of 15 stocks, the list is come down to 10 stocks. So in these 10 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are overlapped with daily demand zones in all the 10 stocks. Okay, fine. Next, we can further filter based on the EMA confluence on this list. Which EMA? Daily EMA. Why daily EMA? Because 75 minutes demand zone overlapped with daily demand zone. That's why we should look for daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence. And ITF is daily and trend is up. Uptrend EMA confluence we can use. No issues at all. So that's why I'm setting the EMA filter on the daily demand zone. Because 75 minute zone overlapped with daily zone. So I'm checking daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence and daily trend is up in all the stocks. Now the list is come down to 8. So these 8 75 minutes demand zones are having even more high probability to get success. Because so these 75 minutes demand zones overlapped with daily demand zone, and those daily demand zones are also having daily EMA confluence. That way these are the more high probability trade setup supported stocks. This is based on LTF, ITF, demand zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. Next we will look into LTF, ITF and even HTF demand zone confluence supported stocks. After that we will look into HTF EMA confluence. So I am going back, removing this ITF EMA filter. In the demand zone confluence I should set 3 filters. And first filter is already enabled, 75 with daily. Next 75 minutes demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence. Daily demand zone with weekly demand zone confluence with all the 3 filters enabled. LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence. We got 3 stocks. In these 3 stocks, these 75 minutes demand zones are overlapped with daily demand zone. Both together again overlapped with weekly demand zone. But weekly trend is sideways in all the 3 stocks. So filtering EMA confluence does not make any sense. You already learned EMA confluence should not be used in sideways trend. It won't get any advantage. Okay. So this is about a bullish trade setup for weekly income trade. Next, we will look into bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. So entry time frame 75 minutes. Entry zone, supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 75 minutes time frame, I am selecting bearish. Zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score should be 12. And also the 75 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count parameter at 75 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means pierced count is 0. Pierced count 0 means zone is not pierced. Which zone? 75 minute supply zone. Let's filter. We got 8 stocks. In all these 8 stocks, they are supporting bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. But entry time frame zones are 75 minute supply zones. All these are all 75 minute supply zones. Okay, out of these 8 75 minute supply zones, there could be some more high probability trade setup supported zones might be available. We can further filter them, but based on the strategy zone confluence. Zone confluence, we have two filters are there. First filter is LTF and ITF supply zone confluence. So let us further filter this list. So I am going back. In the supply zone confluence, I am setting the filter 75 minute supply zone with the daily supply zone confluence. The filter is enabled. With this filter, we got 5 stocks. In these 5 stocks, these 75 minute supply zones are overlapped with daily supply zone. And daily trend is down in all these stocks because bearish trade setup. Because 75 minute supply zone overlapped with daily supply zone, and if the daily supply zone is having daily EMA confluence, then those filtered stocks could be having even more high probability to get success. Let us filter them. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, I am setting the filter daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence. Anyway, trend is down in all the stocks. Let's filter. So we got 2 stocks. So these 2 75 minute supply zones are having even more high probability to get success. But this is LTF, ITF supply zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence specific filtered stocks. Next, we will look into LTF, ITF and even HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. That is 75 minutes daily and weekly supply zone confluence supported stocks. I am removing this ITF EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, we have to filter 3. We have to set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, 75 with daily supply zone confluence. Next, 75 minute supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. Daily supply zone with weekly supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, we got only 1 stock. So in this stock, this supply zone, 75 minute supply zone overlapped with daily. Both together again overlapped with weekly supply zone. But here the problem is the weekly trend is sideways, so we can't further filter with sideways. We can't further filter with weekly EMA confluence. But already it is a high liquidity zone. See, it is tested 4 times, 8 rejections from the zone. So 8 times it is tested already. Okay. So this is about bearish trade setup for weekly income trade. So next we will look into daily income trade stocks. Daily income trade bullish trade setup. Entry time frame is 15 minutes. Entry zone is demand zones. Bullish trade setup. And also bullish or bearish trade setup parameter at entry time frame 15 minutes. I am selecting bullish. And zone achievement violated opposing zone. Minimum odd enhancer score should be 12. And also the 15 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count, at 15 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means zone is not pierced. So 8 stocks will be, 8 stocks are filtered. These 8 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup for daily income trade. And all these entry time frame zones are 15 minutes demand zones. These are the entry time frame zones. Trade plans should be on these zones. But you have to apply as per the concepts you land in supply demand zones, and you can plan your trades. Okay, out of these 8, how many are having even more high probability to get success? That we should identify. Okay. First filter is LTF and ITF demand zone confluence supported stocks. So I am going back. In the demand zone confluence, the 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone. This is LTF, ITF demand zone confluence, enabling that filter. So with this filter, we got all the 8 stocks. That means all these demand zones are overlapped. These are the 15 minutes demand zones. All these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. And 75 minutes trend, ITF trend is up in all these stocks. That's why we will further filter based on the 75 minutes demand zone with daily EMA confluence. The filtered stocks, those 15 minutes demand zones might be having more high probability to get success. Let's filter. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, I'm checking 75 minutes demand zone having daily EMA confluence. So we got 2 stocks. So these 2 15 minutes demand zones might be having even more high probability to get success. Maybe that is the reason why, see, this is a stock already tested 4 times. Okay, but this is LTF, ITF zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. Next we will look into LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence supported stocks. Later HTF EMA confluence. So I am removing ITF EMA confluence filter, and in the demand zone confluence setting 3 filters. First filter is already enabled. Next 15 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence filter is enabled, and 75 minutes demand zone with daily demand zone confluence filter also enabled. With all the 3 filters, this is the first one, this is the second and third, with all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence, we got 4 stocks. That means in these 4 stocks, these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. Again, both together overlapped with daily demand zone. So that means 15 minutes and 75 minutes demand zone together part of the daily demand zone. And the daily trend is up in 3 stocks. You can ignore the first one, sideways trend, leave that stock. In the remaining 3 stocks, if any of the daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence, then these 15 minutes demand zones are having more high probability to get success, because the 15 minutes demand zones, they are already part of the daily demand zone along with 75 minutes demand zone. That is zone confluence. So let's verify. In the EMA confluence at a daily time frame, I am checking daily demand zone having daily EMA confluence, but at the same time, the daily trend sideways stock should be filtered. So in the trend at daily time frame, I am selecting uptrend because it is bullish trade setup. Let's filter. We got all the 3 stocks. That means in all the daily demand zones are having daily EMA confluence. Inside the daily demand zone, these 15 minutes demand zones are overlapped. That's why those 15 minutes demand zone order flows might be having more high probability to get success. It is only a probability game. We are not guaranteeing it is successful, but probability is more. Okay. So this is about a bullish trade setup for daily income trade. Next, we will look into bearish trade setup for daily income trade. Going to the bearish trade setup, entry time frame is 15 minutes. Entry zone should be supply zone, bearish trade setup. And also in bullish or bearish trade setup at 15 minutes, we have to select bearish. Okay, next zone achievement should be violated opposing zone. Minimum odd and enhancer score should be 12. And also the 15 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count parameter at 15 minutes time frame, minimum value 0, maximum value 0. That means 15 minutes supply zone should not be pierced. So with these filters, we got 7 stocks. So these 7 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for daily income trade. And the entry time frame zones are 15 minutes supply zones. All these are all 15 minute supply zones. So we got 7 15-minute supply zones. Out of these 7 15-minute supply zones, there could be some high probability trade setup supported supply zones might be available. So we should filter them. So we are filtering based on the zone confluence. So first filter in the zone confluence, LTF, ITF supply zone confluence. That is nothing but 15-minute supply zone with 75-minute supply zone confluence. So I am enabling the filter. So with this filter, we got all the 7 stocks. So in these 7 stocks, these 15-minute supply zones are overlapped with 75-minute supply zone. And 75-minute trend is a downtrend in all these stocks. Now let's verify. Out of this 75, out of this 7, how many daily 75-minute supply zones are having daily EMA confluence? Because 15-minute supply zone overlapped with that 75-minute supply zone. So in the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, I am setting the filter 75-minute supply zone having daily EMA confluence. With this filter, we got 2 stocks. So in these 2 stocks, these 2 15-minute supply zones, these 2 15-minute supply zones are overlapped with daily supply zone. 75-minute supply zone. And that 75-minute supply zone, EMA confluence, daily EMA confluence is there. So that way these two zones might be having even more high probability to get success. But this is based on LTF, ITF supply zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. So next let us look into LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. Removing EMA filter, this is ITF specific. So in the supply zone confluence, I should set 3 filters. First filter is already enabled, 15 minutes with 75 minutes supply zone confluence. Next filter, 15 minutes supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. Next filter, 75 minutes supply zone with daily supply zone confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF supply zone confluence, we got 3 stocks. That means these 15-minute supply zones are overlapped with 75-minute supply zone. Again, both together overlapped with the daily supply zone. But the daily trend is down in only one stock. Let us check if this stock is having daily supply zone with daily EMA confluence, then this 15-minute supply zone might be having even more high probability to get success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence daily time frame, I am checking daily supply zone having daily EMA confluence. At the same time, we don't want the stocks on daily time frame having sideways trend. So we want only downtrend supported stocks because it is bearish trade setup. With these filters, we did not get any stock. That one stock is not having daily EMA confluence. Okay, this is bearish trade setup for daily income trade. With this, we have completed DIT, daily income trade stocks. And then next, we will look into hourly income trade supported stocks, HIT. Hourly income trade bullish trade setup, entry time frame 5 minutes, entry zone demand zone, bullish or bearish trade setup at 5 minutes. I am selecting bullish. And the zone achievement, violated opposing zone, minimum odd enhancer score should be 12. And more importantly, the 5 minutes demand zone should not be pierced. So in the pierced count parameter, at 5 minutes time frame, I am setting minimum value 0, maximum value 0. So with these filters, we got 16 stocks. All these 16 stocks are currently supporting bullish trade setup for hourly income trade. And entry time frame zones are 5 minutes demand zones. All these demand zones are 5 minutes. So like that, we got 16 5 minutes demand zones. Out of these 16, how many are having even more high probability to get success? That we can filter based on this zone confluence. First filter in the zone confluence is LTF, ITF demand zone confluence. That is 5 minutes and 15 minutes demand zone confluence. Let us apply that filter. In the demand zone confluence, I am enabling the filter 5 minutes demand zone with 15 minutes demand zone confluence. With this filter, out of 16 stocks, we got 15. 15 or 16 earlier, I think. Yeah, okay. Maybe we got all the stocks. So in all these stocks, these 5 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 15 minutes demand zones. And 15 minutes trend is up in all these stocks. So that is the reason why 5 minutes is overlapped with 15 minutes demand zone. If that 15 minutes demand zone is having daily EMA confluence, then any filtered stocks might be having a more high probability to get success. Let's verify. In the EMA confluence at 15 minutes time frame, I am checking 15 minutes demand zone having daily EMA confluence. So with this filter, we did not get any stocks. Okay, next we will look into LTF, ITF, HTF demand zone confluence supported stocks. 5 minutes, 15 minutes and 75 minutes. I'm removing EMA filter. In the demand zone Confluence, 3 filters we have to set. First filter is already enabled. Next 5 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone Confluence, and 15 minutes demand zone with 75 minutes demand zone Confluence. With all the 3 filters, LTF, ITF, HTF, demand zone Confluence, we got 10 stocks. In these 10 stocks, these 5 minutes demand zones are overlapped with 15 minutes demand zones. Again, both together overlapped with 75 minutes demand zone. Basically, these 5 minutes demand zones are fine-tuned demand zones inside 75. That is the way you have to understand. But that 75 minutes trend is up in good number of stocks, around 6 stocks. If those uptrend 75 minutes demand zones are having daily EMA Confluence, if that is the case, any stocks filter, then these 5 minutes demand zones might be having more high probability to get success. Let's verify. EMA Confluence at 75 minutes time frame, because 5 minutes together with 15 minutes are part of the 75 minutes demand zone. So we are checking 75 minutes demand zone having any daily EMA Confluence. But 75 minutes demand zones with uptrend only we have to filter. So that's why in the trend at 75 minutes time frame, I am selecting the trend uptrend. We don't want sideways stocks. Let's filter. None of the stocks are having EMA Confluence. Okay. Next, we will look into bearish trade setup for hourly income trade supported stocks. Entry time frame 5 minutes. Entry zone supply zone. In bullish or bearish trade setup at 5 minutes, I am selecting bearish. And also I should set 3 filters on the 5 minute supply zone. First filter, zone achievement should be violated opposing zone and 5 minute supply zone. And minimum odd enhancer score should be 12 on 5 minute supply zone. And third filter, 5 minute supply zone should not be pierced. So that's why in the pierced count parameter at 5 minutes time frame, minimum value I am setting 0, maximum value 0. That means 5 minute supply zone should not be pierced. With these filters, we got 12 stocks. And these 12 stocks are supporting bearish trade setup for hourly income trade. And entry time frame zones are 5 minute supply zones. All these are all 5 minute supply zones. We have total 12 stocks. Out of these 12 5 minute supply zones, there could be some high probability trade setup supported zones might be available. So we can further filter them based on this zone confluence. First filter is LTF ITF supply zone confluence. That is 5 minutes and 15 minutes supply zone confluence. So I am enabling that filter. So with this filter, out of 12 we got 8 stocks. So in these 8 stocks, the 5 minute supply zones are overlapped with the 15 minute supply zones. All these 5 minute supply zones overlapped with 15 minute supply zones. And 15 minutes trend is down in all the stocks. So if any of the 15 minute supply zones are having daily EMA, then we can consider these 5 minute supply zones are having more probability to get success, because they are overlapped with 15 minute supply zones. Let's filter if any stocks we can identify at EMA confluence 15 minutes time frame, and setting the filter 15 minutes supply zone having daily EMA confluence. One stock is filtered. So this AU bank might be having more high probability to get success to compare it to the other stocks. Okay, this is a bearish trade setup for Hourly income trade based on LTF, ITF, supply zone confluence and ITF EMA confluence. Next, we will look into LTF, ITF and HTF supply zone confluence supported stocks. Removing this EMA filter. In the supply zone confluence, 3 filters I have to set. First filter is already enabled. Next 5-minute supply zone with 75-minute supply zone and 15-minute supply zone with 75-minute supply zone. With all the 3 filters, we got 3 stocks. That is, the 5-minute supply zones are overlapped with 15-minute supply zone. Both together again overlapped with 75-minute supply zone. And 75-minute trend is down in 2 stocks. If any of the 75-minute supply zones are having daily EMA confluence, then these 5-minute supply zones might be having more high probability to get success. Let's filter them. In the EMA confluence at 75 minutes time frame, I am checking 75-minute supply zone is having any daily EMA confluence. At the same time, the trend on the 75 minutes time frame should not be sideways. It should be downtrend because it is bearish trade setup. So with this filter, we got both these stocks. So both these stocks might be having more probability to get success compared to the other stocks. So this is a bearish trade setup for hourly income trade. So with this, we have completed all the income trade reports. And in the final report, let us generate stop buffers based on daily ATR. So first 17 in this list are indices, remaining all are equity stocks. So I am scrolling the list down, whichever the stock you want to refer, there pause the video. Okay, I am scrolling the list down. So this is the end of the report. Hope this information will be useful to you for your further study and analysis. Let's all meet again in our next video. Thank you.